She was young, blonde, barefoot, wearing one of Tom's button-down shirts. For a second, none of us said anything. The silence rushed in like a wave. I used to think the scariest sound in the world was silence. Not the kind you get at night when the house finally settles, when the kids are in bed and the hum of the refrigerator keeps you company. I mean the other kind. The silence that creeps in after a conversation goes unfinished. The kind that lingers after "I love you" meets nothing but air. That kind of silence takes on a shape. It settles between two people like smoke, seeping into everything, choking the spaces that used to feel safe. Lately, that silence has been living in our house. Tom left 4 days ago. He flew out on a Tuesday afternoon for what was supposed to be a 3-day conference in Chicago. He called from the airport, rushed, distracted, said he'd be extending the trip through the weekend because of client follow-ups. Said it like it was no big deal, like I'd understand. And I did, or at least I pretended to. Because that's what you do when you've been married for 17 years and your husband has a demanding job and everything about your life together is built on pretending that time will fix what's been quietly breaking. The first night he was gone, I slept with his t-shirt beside me. It still smelled like him, clean linen and something faintly earthy. A scent that used to bring me comfort. Now it just reminded me that I couldn't remember the last time we touched each other without obligation. By the second night, the shirt ended up on the floor. Now it was Friday. I'd barely heard from him. A single text on Wednesday. Busy day. We'll call later. The call never came. Thursday was quiet. Today, nothing. I wasn't the kind of woman who pried. I wasn't the jealous type. But something felt off. Not in the obvious way. No red flags. No lipstick on collars. No strange charges on the credit card. No, it was more subtle than that. It was the space in between the things he didn't say, the lack of curiosity about my day, the way his eyes didn't linger anymore when I got out of the shower. I kept telling myself it was just the season we were in. Everyone goes through rough patches. God knows we had before. But this was different. I stood in the kitchen, wrapped in a faded robe, watching the coffee drip into the pot like it was performing heart surgery. My phone sat, face up on the counter, screen dark. I hadn't touched it since I got up, but I kept glancing at it, waiting for something. A ping, a buzz. Some tiny bit of evidence that my husband still thought of me when he was in another city. Nothing. I poured the coffee and leaned against the counter, taking a sip that burned a little. I didn't even flinch. The kids would be up soon. I should have made breakfast, should have gotten dressed. But my bones felt heavy. My mind kept circling the same drain. What if he's not just busy? What if he's with someone? I hated myself for thinking it. It felt like a betrayal to even imagine it. Tom had never given me reason to doubt him, not really. But lately, he'd been distant. Like he was living in a movie where I was just an extra. And then I heard it. Light footsteps on the stairs. Sam appeared first, his hair flattened on one side like he'd been sleeping face down. He was 10. Still innocent in ways that felt fragile. He rubbed his eyes and shuffled toward the pantry without a word. "Good morning, buddy," I said, trying to sound normal. He mumbled something that could have been morning or meh, and reached for the cereal. Lily was next, 14, going on 25. She was already dressed in black leggings and an oversized hoodie, earbuds in, scrolling on her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. "Hey," I offered. She looked up briefly, gave me a half smile, and nodded. "Morning." The kitchen filled with quiet sounds, cereal hitting a bowl, the hum of the fridge, Lily's music faintly leaking from her headphones. It was peaceful, but in a way that felt empty. Like we were all actors in a play we'd been rehearsing for years. I was thinking, I began, setting down my mug. What if we flew out to Chicago this weekend? You know, surprise your dad. Sam perked up immediately. Really? Like, go now? Well, tomorrow, Saturday morning. I already checked flights. It could be fun, just the three of us. Spend a couple nights, maybe hit a museum, deep dish pizza, hotel with a pool. Lily pulled out one earbud. Why? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean, why? She shrugged. I don't know. Dad's working. Isn't it weird to just show up? I hesitated. I thought it might be a nice surprise. He's been away all week. We haven't done anything spontaneous in a while. Sam looked at me with wide eyes. Can we get room service? Please? I laughed, more from relief than amusement. If it's in the budget, sure. Lily watched me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but I get to choose the music on the plane. Deal. We ate in relative silence, but it was lighter now. Sam talked about a YouTube video he saw. Lily started listing snacks she wanted for the airport. I pulled out my laptop and booked the flights before I could second-guess myself. By noon, I'd called into work and arranged to take Monday off. I texted a neighbor to watch the cat and asked my sister to check the mail. I packed 3 small suitcases and reminded the kids to grab jackets because Chicago could still be chilly in late spring. All the while, I imagined Tom's face. I pictured us knocking on his hotel room door, the stunned joy in his eyes when he saw us. The way his arms would wrap around the kids. Maybe we'd go out for dinner, the 4 of us. Talk, laugh, reconnect. It wasn't just about surprising him. It was about proving, mostly to myself, that we were still a team. That the man who'd once looked at me like I was his whole world was still in there somewhere. When I told the kids to start packing their carry-ons, they both scattered up the stairs in a flurry of energy. I stood in the living room, surrounded by half-zipped bags and travel-sized toiletries, and felt something stir in my chest. Hope. Nervous, trembling hope. And underneath it, fear. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray, the kind of weather that made everything feel heavier. I woke early, my eyes gritty from sleep that hadn't done its job. The kids were still passed out, limbs tangled in hotel sheets, their breathing soft and even. I stepped into the bathroom, closed the door quietly, and sat on the closed toilet lid. My phone lay face up in my hand. Still no message, no missed call, no reply. It had been nearly 24 hours. Something was wrong, really wrong. I stared at my reflection. My face looked older than it had a week ago. Hair unbrushed, eyes rimmed with doubt. I used to joke that marriage added 10 years to your soul. Now I wasn't so sure I'd been joking. I dressed quickly and headed down to the lobby with a fake smile and a real mission. The kids could sleep a little longer. I just needed answers. The morning receptionist was new, young, distracted, too tired to care. Hi, I said brightly. I need to leave something in my husband's room, Tom Wallace. He's here for the Arcadia conference. She glanced at the monitor. Wallace, yes, room 1924. My heart caught. She kept typing. He checked in Tuesday afternoon. I smiled tightly. Anyone else with the reservation? Her brow furrowed. Says +1. And there it was. The confirmation I hadn't wanted. The weight behind the silence. The thing that had been clawing at the back of my throat all week. A +1. I nodded, mumbled a thank you, and turned away. Back upstairs, the world blurred. I packed snacks into Sam's backpack, reminded Lily to brush her teeth, and said we were going to pop by and surprise Dad. She looked suspicious but said nothing. I told myself over and over, keep it together. For the kids. Hold the line until you're alone. We took the elevator up to the 19th floor. The ride was too quick. Sam bounced with excitement. I leaned against the mirror, arms crossed. I held my breath. Room 1924, beige door, gold numbers. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, firmer. And then the door opened. She was young, blonde, barefoot, wearing one of Tom's button-down shirts. For a second, none of us said anything. The silence rushed in like a wave. Then Tom appeared behind her, shirtless, eyes wide, moving too fast to hide the panic. "Elena," he started. Lily gasped. Sam blinked. I felt nothing. Not at first, just silence. That same shape-shifting silence I had known so well. It curled up around us like fog. Tom stepped forward, hands raised slightly. "Wait, this isn't... Just let me explain." The girl behind him stepped out of view. Lily turned to me, her face hardening. "Is this a joke?" "Kids," I said gently. My voice wasn't even mine. "Go back to the elevator. I'll be there in a minute." Sam looked at me, confused. "But what's happening?" "Now, Sam, please." Lily grabbed his arm. "Come on." When they were gone, I walked into the room. Tom tried to block the doorway, but I brushed past him. Inside, the bed was unmade. A half-empty wine glass sat on the nightstand. A second suitcase leaned against the wall. "Who is she?" I asked. "Elena, just listen. Who is she?" He hesitated. "A colleague from work. This isn't what it looks like." I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Isn't it?" He moved closer, lowering his voice like that would fix the gravity of what had already shattered. "It was a mistake. I didn't plan this. I've been feeling lost. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You didn't try." His mouth opened, closed. I looked at the bed, at the shirt she was wearing, at the familiar scent of Tom's cologne that now felt like a stranger. "You brought our kids here," I said, "into this." His face crumpled. "I didn't think—" "No, you didn't." I walked toward the door. My hand shook, my chest was tight, but my voice was calm. "You tell them," I said. "You look your daughter in the eye and explain why her mother had to knock on a hotel door and find this." "Elena, please." But I was already walking away. In the elevator, I held my breath the whole way down. When the doors opened, I saw them. Lily sitting stiffly on the lobby couch, arms around Sam, who looked like he was trying not to cry. I crossed the room and sat down between them. "It's okay," I said. "We're going home." Neither of them spoke. Lily looked at me. Her voice was a whisper. "Was that really?" "Yes," I said. "It was." And just like that, the last part of the story we'd been telling ourselves ended. The flight home was quiet. Too quiet. Sam curled into the window seat with his hoodie pulled up, earbuds in, eyes fixed on nothing. Lily sat between us, arms crossed, jaw tight, her gaze locked on the seat back in front of her. I was on the aisle, gripping the armrest like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Tom hadn't come to the airport. He'd sent a text, short, formal, cowardly. "Safe travels. We'll talk soon." I deleted it the moment I read it. The silence between the three of us was brittle, ready to snap. I kept waiting for one of the kids to ask a question, but they didn't. They were trying to process it all in their own ways. I replayed the moment in the hotel over and over like a scene from a movie I never wanted to be in. Her face. His face. The cheapness of it all. I could still smell her perfume in the hallway. Back in our house, everything looked the same but felt altered. A shifted axis. Sam went straight to his room. Lily dropped her bag by the door and disappeared upstairs. I stood in the kitchen staring at the fridge. The magnet that held up a school calendar fell to the floor. I didn't pick it up. The next morning, Tom showed up. He knocked once, then let himself in like it was still his house. I was at the kitchen table, still in my robe, a mug of coffee untouched in front of me. Lily stood in the doorway behind him, arms folded. "I want to talk," he said. I looked up at him, at the man I'd loved for nearly 2 decades. I studied his face for clues. Guilt, shame, a flicker of the man who used to kiss my knuckles when I cried. But there was nothing. "I'm listening," I said. He sat, cleared his throat. "It didn't mean anything. It just happened." "Was it the first time?" He didn't answer. "Don't lie to me, Tom." His silence was the answer. I stood. My voice was calm. "I think you should go. Elena, please, can we work through this?" I laughed bitterly. "You made your choice, now I'm making mine." Lily had heard enough. She turned and walked away. I called Diane the next day. Old friend, brutally honest, good with wine and perspective. We met at a park, the kids playing in the distance. "I didn't say I told you so," she said. "How long?" "I don't know. Maybe a year, maybe more." "And you didn't suspect?" "I think I did. I just didn't want it to be true." She nodded. "That's what love does. It makes us blind until it makes us brave." That night, I cried until I couldn't breathe. I lay on the bathroom floor and let it all out. 17 years of love, compromise, denial. I screamed into a towel so the kids wouldn't hear. Then I got up. The lawyer's office was cold and impersonal. Her name was Michelle Saris. Sharp suit, kind eyes. "I'm not ready to file anything," I said. "Not yet. I just need to know what I'm walking into." She nodded. "Of course, we'll go at your pace, but you should know your rights. Finances, custody, property." She laid it all out, like a surgeon explaining a necessary procedure. It wasn't cruel. It was clarity. I left with a folder and a pen I hadn't meant to steal. Telling the kids was the hardest part. I sat them down in the living room. Sam looked small on the couch. Lily looked older than me. "I want you to know this isn't your fault," I said. "And it's not because of anything either of you did." Lily's voice was tight. "You're divorcing him." I nodded. "I don't know when, but yes. I don't think we can come back from this." Sam's eyes welled up. "Is Dad still going to be my dad?" I pulled him into my arms. "Of course, sweetie, he always will be, but things are going to look different now." The three of us sat like that for a long time. A small circle of sadness and survival. Later that night, when the kids were in bed, I walked into the bedroom I used to share with Tom and shut the door behind me. I stood in front of the mirror, stripped down to nothing, and stared at myself. This is who I am now, I thought. This is who I've always been, under the weight of what I thought I had to be. I turned off the light, and for the first time in weeks, I slept. The divorce papers were filed on a rainy Tuesday. No thunder, no lightning, just the soft, steady kind of rain that makes everything feel like a clean slate. I stood outside the courthouse with my hands in my pockets, watching drops slide off the awning. It didn't feel victorious, it felt necessary. Michelle had walked me through every step: custody agreements, joint assets, mediation schedules. It was all moving now, like a slow but inevitable train. When I got back home, I changed the sheets. Not because they needed it, but because I needed it. It felt symbolic. Fresh linens, fresh start. I vacuumed the floors, took out the trash, rearranged the bookshelves. Little things that made the space feel like mine. Mornings started to look different. I stopped waiting for texts. I stopped staring at the phone. I made coffee and actually drank it while it was hot. I dropped the kids off without checking the rearview mirror for a man who no longer lived in our house. Lily became quieter, but more present. She helped with dinner, even if it was just chopping vegetables in silence. Once, when I forgot a parent meeting, she reminded me gently, like she understood I was juggling more than just groceries and calendars. Sam asked about Tom often. "Did Dad call today? When will I see him again?" I answered honestly, "He'll always be your dad, and he'll call soon, I'm sure." But the truth was, I didn't know when or if, and that uncertainty was its own kind of grief. It started with a sketch, an old notebook I hadn't touched in years. I found it while cleaning out the hallway closet, tucked between board games and forgotten holiday wrapping paper. The cover was frayed, but the pages still held traces of who I used to be. I stayed up that night drawing. Nothing elaborate, just lines, shapes, little bursts of color. But it stirred something, a flicker of creativity, of self. Design had been my passion in college. I'd put it aside for the marriage, for the job that paid better, for the kids. But now there was space, not a lot, just enough. I signed up for an online course, nothing big, just a few hours a week, but it was mine. Tom called on a Sunday evening. "Hey," he said, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't detonated the life we built. I kept my voice even. "What do you want?" "I miss you, the kids, us." "There is no us," I said. "There hasn't been for a while. You just made it obvious." He sighed. "Can we at least talk?" "We are talking, and I'm saying no." He tried again the next day, and the day after that, but every time I stood my ground, not out of anger, but clarity. The dining room table became our new anchor. Dinners with the kids, homework spread out, music playing low. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. One night, Lily handed me her English paper to proofread. I spotted a sentence that made me pause. "My mother is the strongest person I know, even when she thinks she's falling apart." I looked at her. She shrugged. "It's true." I reached for her hand. "Thank you." Sam came in with a Lego spaceship asking me to help with a stubborn piece. I sat with him on the rug, trying to fit it together. The piece snapped in, and he beamed. "We did it," he said, and I realized so had I. We took our first trip, just the three of us, over spring break, a cabin by the lake, nothing fancy but cozy, quiet, the kind of place where time moves slowly. We roasted marshmallows, went on hikes, played board games by the fire. I watched Sam skip rocks and Lily read by the window, and I let myself breathe. I didn't check my email. I didn't scroll through Tom's social media. I didn't think about what was missing. I focused on what was here, the three of us, whole, in a new way. When we came home, Tom was gone. His final move had happened while we were away. The house felt emptier, but not hollow, like something toxic had been cleared out. His office was bare, the closet half full. The silence was cleaner. Lily lingered in the hallway. "It's really real now, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, it is." She leaned against me, just for a moment, then walked away. That night, I slept better than I had in months. A man named Julian joined my online design class, older than me, quiet, thoughtful, always had kind feedback and a calm voice in group discussions. We exchanged a few messages, mostly about layout and color theory, but there was warmth in them. One evening, he sent me a playlist he'd made. For late-night sketching, he wrote. I listened, then wrote back, "You have good taste." It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it made me feel seen, like a door opening in a house I thought was locked. Tom asked to meet. I agreed. one last time. We sat in a public park, neutral ground. He looked tired but not broken, just faded, like someone I used to know. I messed up, he said. I know. I thought maybe we could try again, for the kids. I shook my head. That's not enough. They deserve to see love that's real, even if it's not between us. He looked down. I don't think I'll ever stop regretting this. You shouldn't, I said. But I forgive you. That surprised him. Not for you, I added. For me. I moved into a new place that summer, smaller, sunnier, just enough for 3. The kids decorated their rooms how they wanted. I painted the kitchen yellow. I bought new towels and let myself splurge on a candle that smelled like eucalyptus. One evening, I sat on the porch with a glass of wine and watched the sun dip below the trees. A sketchbook rested on my lap, half-finished ideas spilling out in ink and color. This was my life now, not perfect, not the one I planned, but mine. And for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I needed to be.